Welcome back, Cloud Scholars. How are you doing? I'm your host, Kieran Tross. I've got another how-to video for you today. In this video, we're going to talk a little bit about passwordless authentication. So, when I first heard about passwordless authentication, one thing I could tell you, I was like, well, how is that even possible? How are you going to sign in if it's passwordless authentication? It just sounded to me like you had a username and you had no password. So I want to kind of just clear up the air when it comes to that because I know I was confused by it, and I'm pretty sure there are a bunch of other people confused by it. So we're going to talk a little bit about Microsoft's password authentication and how they approach that topic. So one of the things I want to talk a little bit about is passwords, right? Why the move to passwordless authentication? What issues passwords cause? So passwords are a primary attack vector, right? They're the source where hackers are saying, okay, we're going to go and try to infiltrate a company or your personal account due to weak passwords. Your IT department's focus on preventing password spray attacks, phishing attacks, and then also personal accounts being compromised. So that is a way that people are going about attacking people's passwords. If you're, let's just say, so let's look at password sprays where they just constantly keep trying different passwords, and then hopefully you have one of those weak passwords like 123 or QWERTY or whatever the case may be, and then they get in. You wouldn't believe how many people have weak passwords. Passwords such as so it's 2022 right now, so let's just say winter 2022. That is a common password with the season and the year. I've been in IT for about 15 years, 16 years, and I can tell you right now, I have seen users go and change their password, and they've literally just put it to the season and the year. It's a way to get into passwords. I know some of you might be thinking that that's absolutely insane, but it does happen. So then there's phishing attacks as well that go about where people are being getting their passwords compromised, and then the last one is personal account compromise. So this one is probably a way that people are getting their accounts compromised because if your personal account is compromised, they find out your information. Let's just say your Gmail account gets compromised, and then they go on LinkedIn, they see where you work at. All they need to know is the name and convention for where you work at, and that's it. They're able to get into your company email. Hopefully, you have MFA, but with MFA, what happens is there's times where that push notification where somebody can just accidentally accept it, and then you're in. So that's one of the reasons why MFA number matching is a better strategy, but that's out of the scope of this video. I just want to really focus on the passwordless authentication. So, what are Microsoft's passwordless authentication? So there's the Microsoft Authenticator app, there's the FIDO compliant security keys, and then there's Windows Hello for Business. So Microsoft Authenticator app. So this works with iOS and Android and allows users to sign into any platform. If you look at the screenshot on the screen right now, they have the location with this authentication app. That's telling you exactly what app it's going into. And then you have a one-time password code, which you're putting the code in. To me, with Microsoft's number matching tool, I think that that's one of the best ways that you can run your Authenticator app because it alleviates that whole oh, it was an accident or just a simple lazy user who just doesn't care about anything. So this is one way of doing passwordless authentication where users are able to sign in with the app. Then there's FIDO2 compliant security keys. So that stands for Fast Identity Online. And what I would say to you is this is a really great tool because it's unphishanable, standard-based password authentication, and a username nor password is used during the logon process. So are you literally using the key to get into your systems. And let's talk a little bit about how it works. So this is pretty much the login process. So you see initially the user goes in, the user plugs in the FIDO security key into their computer. If you look at the bottom left-hand corner, that's number one. And then number two, the Windows detects the FIDO2 security key. The third step is Windows sends an authentication request. That authentication request is going into your database, your Azure database. Azure sends a nonce back, a code back, The user completes their gesture to unlock the private key. And then following that, the FIDO security key signs the nonce with the private key. And then the primary refresh token request with signed nonce is sent to Azure AD, and that's step 7. And then step 8, Azure identifies the signed in nonce using the FIDO2 public key. As you can see, that's within the cloud. And then number 9, Azure AD returns the PRT key, right? The PRT to enable access to on-premise resources. So right there is no phishing happening there because there is no password. So you're using a security key to get in. Just hopefully you do not lose that security key, because then you'd have to go through getting a new one and then getting that your account associated with the new key. But this is one of the most secure ways of getting into your account, because they have a physical device that just is unique for your ID. So then finally, there's a Windows Hello for Business. Windows Hello for Business works similar, but it's just a little bit different. The user signs into Windows using the biometric or PIN gesture. The gesture unlocks the Windows Hello for Business private key and is sent to the cloud authentication security support provider. Then the cloud provider requests a nonce, and then once that happens, Azure AD returns a nonce that's valid for 5 minutes. And that's really the great thing about it, because it's valid for 5 minutes. If you don't stay within that whole process, then you have to start over the process again. And then the cloud A provider signs the nonce using the user's private key and returns a signed nonce to the Azure AD. And then Azure AD validates the signed nonce using the user security registered public key against the nonce signature. Once that happens, the cloud API provider receives the encrypted PRT with session key, and then the cloud API provider returns a successful authentication response to Windows. So there's a back and forth happening there, so that this way that it's making sure that it works perfectly fine and that you are not being compromised in any way. So with this, there's no one going in and looking at your LinkedIn and trying to sign in with your username. This is more something that's happening from a local perspective. They would have to be in front of your laptop to do something. And then you'd have to know the PIN and all that other stuff. So that's something that's totally different. I've seen with passwords, another thing that I would mention is people share passwords. So especially like in healthcare, doctors never want to sign in with their credentials. They'll just have the medical assistant, hey, here's my password, sign in. Let's say the medical assistant gets pissed off, or um, gets let go because the doctor, whatever the case may be. That medical assistant can now say, oh, I know a doctor's password, log in with those credentials, and then have havoc, right? So you never know. People, can be in your organization or in your company if they're let go because of something that they deem unfair, and who believes that they were let go fairly, right? That just never really happens. So you always want to try to maneuver around that, and that said doctor can now cause a problem within the organization and then cause you as an Azure admin a very unpleasant day. So this is why I want to end off at. This is the prerequisites for Windows Hello for Business. For the passwordless sign-in with Authenticator app, and then the FIDO security keys. You can see Windows 10 version 18 or 9 or later for Azure Active Directory. For the passwordless sign-in for Authenticator app, it's a iOS and Android device, and then FIDO2 key is a Windows 10 version 1903 or later Azure Active Directory, and it lets you know that it works for a platform, software, and hardware, and so on and so forth. So I will definitely put in the documentation in the description of this video. So what I'll do is I'll create a video just kind of just going through how you go about setting this up within the your Azure environment as well. So as always, if you found the content of this video to be something of value, please, if you haven't done it already, smash that like and subscribe button. Here at Cloud Scholars, our goal is to get you from scholar to consultant and from consultant to expert. Thank you, and see you next time.